All right, guys, welcome to our Zoom. And tonight is a great topic that I really think that, I could actually spend way more than 20 minutes, but I will do my best to stay on time. I really think that this is an excellent thing for a lot of us to hear about because there's so much value in lots of different ways with how, in particular, alfalfa can be used. So I also want to mention here real fast for some of you, if you have a hard time remembering these Zooms, every Monday night, we do these team Zooms at 8:30. We pick a different topic and we're followed by business training. But I do send a reminder text. So if you would like to be added to our Remind text group, feel free to send me a message and I'll make sure you get added to that text group. So, but we're going to go ahead and get started here. And I wanted to just kind of talk through for some of you that were on last week. We had Dr. Cheney as our guest speaker, and he did an excellent job of really helping to inform us, which he has been the industry with research and testing supplements and really working in the field to help with bringing a lot of knowledge and education to people out there about why supplements are so important to understand, how there's little regulation, and why Shaklee is so different. And I just wanted to put this screen up here because I think that this is really, really important to highlight. I can't tell you all how many just times today I've had people sending me messages saying, hey, have you heard of this company? Hey, do you know anything about this product? Have you heard of this one? And I always go back to the fact that we need to see what's on this screen right here. And that's my 100% belief in why I have stuck with Shaklee for over 20 years is the fact that you need to have third-party clinical studies. You need to have research. You need to have the things that you're seeing here are why Shaklee is so special and different. So just wanted to highlight this, that this is the Shaklee difference. Everything is pure, everything is potent, and everything is going to do what it says to help with increasing performance. So just wanted to kind of start with that. And again, I think it was appropriate coming off from last week with Dr. Cheney. So hopefully you guys that were on felt that that information was helpful. All right, so I'm going to begin here talking a little bit about some of the things that I think are really relevant to people right now. And I've had several people with allergies going on. And I actually invited a few on tonight because I know that they've been struggling with allergies. And I think that it's continuing to be rapidly growing in how many people are noticing symptoms with allergies. And I just wanted to kind of bring this up in the fact that, allergies and sickness relate to so many things, from kids missing school to people missing work to a lot of cost that goes into basically helping us to feel better. But the sad thing is it's oftentimes not that we're really feeling better. We are just going through and masking the symptoms to help us get by instead of actually really truly getting to the root cause of the issue. And this is an example of just one common medication that's used. And again, I just picked one that I know everybody's heard of, which is Benadryl. And when you go to the store and you buy something over the counter, you think, hey, I can buy over the counter, it has to be safe, right? But if you go into digging a little bit deeper into what are common side effects, serious side effects, you don't oftentimes ever think about this is going to happen to you and that there's going to be long-term side effects on taking a product such as Benadryl. So, this is just important to highlight that we do need to be careful and be thinking about whether it's a supplement or it is an over-the-counter product, that they can still have both short-term and long-term side effects. So, again, just wanted to highlight that because I think it's really important. We know nutrition should be the way that we are looking at building up our bodies. And if we can give our bodies what they need, it is amazing how long-term our bodies will function better longer. And that is a really big thing that we try to focus on, is trying to get people to realize, from the beginning, balance has been a really, it sounds simple, right? That we should eat well and we should exercise. And, from the beginning, that was kind of the concept. But as the years continue to go on, we get less and less away from the basics. And that is where I feel like getting back to thinking about simplified options are the way that we need to go. And you guys have probably heard us talk about this Prove It Challenge. I'm only going to mention it here really fast because alfalfa is part of this Prove It Challenge. So I want to make sure that you know that the alfalfa is used as part of the cleanse. And it's a very important key to it because alfalfa actually helps with so many different areas in the body for cleansing properties. But it also, if you're reading on the screen here, some of the nutrients it has in there, it really helps with getting your body to be more alkaline. And you might hear me say this a couple times actually tonight, because the more alkaline your body is, the better. Disease can't survive in a high alkaline body. Acidic bodies are where disease and sickness tend to stem from. So we really want to note that if we can continue to increase the alkalinity in our body, the better we're going to be. Even if you look at the rate of cancer growth, that they say, again, if alkalinity is very high, your cancer cells are going to have a much harder time multiplying. So alfalfa, that is one of the big properties of this, is very alkaline. So some of the ingredients here, which again, we're going to get into, you're talking about, but this whole Prove It challenge, this was developed from over 30 years of science. And this is an excellent way for helping us all to jumpstart our health. But I want you to realize, though, that this isn't something you do and then, after 30 days, you're on your way and you're back to your old habits. We want to be looking at options that are long-term. So this is the first step. Shaklee's done the research. They have the clinical studies. They have the proof. They have the guarantee that if you do this Prove It challenge, you're going to feel better. And there's actually a lot of you on here, which I'm happy to see that, I know you've had some great success with the Prove It challenge. We want to keep continuing to feel amazing and continuing to focus on how we build health. And this is where understanding a lot of these individual supplements can really play a part into helping us understand when we do have a symptom, what can we use naturally to build our body instead of what I was talking about at the beginning, grabbing a medication. And alfalfa is just one of the things that we can definitely incorporate into our regimen to helping with building better health. So here's our Shaklee alfalfa complex. We talked about, again, there's the word again, being alkaline. I wanted to make sure we continue to mention that here several times tonight because that is a really important thing to keep noting. But what it does is it really helps with, I don't know if you actually know this, but your liver is the only organ that continues to regenerate itself. So alfalfa plays a part in what happens in our organ, what happens in our organ of the liver. And when you look at a lot of the things that stem from the liver collects junk, right? And we need to keep things passing through there quickly. And this alfalfa is going to be a great thing to help aid in the function of getting things out of the body that should not be there. So, when we look at how to use alfalfa, there's actually several ways you can use this. And in case you haven't ever heard much of alfalfa before, this is actually known as the king of all plants. It is the most nutritionally rich food available. And when you look at alfalfa, they're little green tablets. I meant to grab some and I forgot, but they're very small in size. But really, it's like eating a bunch of green veggies or looking at it as a green drink and a super healthy salad. That's what alfalfa is. It has chlorophyll. It has so many of the nutrients in there, especially of greens, but it's a very concentrated source of those. So those little tiny tablets, you can actually crush them. So they're excellent to even be used for kids. We use them quite a bit if our kids are noticing they're getting congestion, or maybe I'm noticing that allergies are starting to kick in. This is a great product because you can also make it into tea. Now talking about the Prove It challenge again, in the 7-day cleanse, we take 5 in the morning at 5 at night. It's a perfect way to help getting, again, our bodies to be getting a lot of that pH back to normal and to helping with pulling heavy metals out of our body in the detox process, right, for the purpose of our cleanse. But why else would we want to continue to use something like alfalfa? Now, a while back, I took a nutrition course with Dr. Brous, and I have a list here of some of the things that he mentioned, and I thought this would be helpful for me to read through these, of what issues can alfalfa help support you with. If you guys are taking notes, I talk fast, so I apologize, but I'm going to go ahead and read these things here in a minute to just kind of give you an idea of how many different uses alfalfa can be used for. Anytime you look at muscle pain, stiffness, swelling, me personally, I use alfalfa for 2 reasons. One, I don't have allergies anymore since I started using alfalfa and nutriferrin, and I used to suffer quite a bit with the sinus drainage, which would lead into me losing my voice, and it would happen several times a year where I would actually get pretty sick from it. And I no longer have those issues since I started taking this, but I also use it for circulation and to help with keeping inflammation out of my legs. So for me, alfalfa is a staple that I take every single day. But anytime you have an injury, if you know someone maybe that's sports related, say you got hit in the knee and your knee swells up and you don't know what to do, take a ton of alfalfa. If you listen to some of our Olympians talk, which we were just in Chicago last weekend, and there was a few of them there speaking, and a lot of them, when they share a lot of their stories, one of their products they really love is alfalfa because they know they can help get them back to performance much faster by pumping their body with a lot of alfalfa to get rid of inflammation and swelling. So that's just one use. And again, I have a whole list of this, but when you think of muscle and joint issues, think of all the things that relates to arthritis, osteoarthritis, carpal tunnel syndrome, any of your itises, bursitis, tendinitis, sciatica. If you've ever known someone that suffers from, edema, the swelling I was mentioning, this is a huge thing. We mentioned allergies, which also ties into asthma, respiratory issues like bronchitis, digestive issues. One of the things that people really like using alfalfa for also, which it's on the screen there, is body odor. And if you've ever known what someone with athlete's foot, and it can really help control even with bad breath. Again, it has to do with a lot of the greens that are in there to helping with making the body more neutralized. So elimination issues. So somebody that suffers from constipation, skin issues, acne, psoriasis. We talked about, some of the other things we think about: water retention, hormones, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, trace mineral deficiencies, prenatal and lactating women. So this is a great thing for nursing moms that need to increase their milk supply. Alfalfa has been used for that for many years. Immune function, healing bones, post-recovery from surgery, for injuries, colds, flus, illness, disease. It's a very nutrient-rich food. So that's a big list, right? And I know you're probably thinking, well, how do I know where I classify into how many I should take or what I should take? And that's where it's important that we do understand that, alfalfa is used differently for each person. With products, especially like these, these are food. You're never going to overdose on any Shaklee product, which is very unique to anything else you could take, because you have to worry about something being synthetic and building up in your system long term. Shaklee products is not the same. It's just like for this, you're never going to eat too many greens, right? Your body will get rid of what it doesn't need. It's the same thing with alfalfa. Now, the general recommendation for alfalfa is to take 1 tablet for every 10 pounds of body weight. So do your math. If you weigh 200 pounds, that'd be 20 a day. If you weigh 100 pounds, that would be 10 a day. So, that's why when you see the guideline, this is just a recommended daily allowance. But the guideline, it could definitely be more or less, for a kid. A lot of times I'll use maybe 3 to 4 for our kids that are 10 or under or so, but a lot of it, again, has to do with body weight. So, and the cleansing effects of this, you don't need to be scared. A lot of you guys that have done the cleanse, it's not going to cause you to feel like you're excreting too much and, you're getting rid of too many things out of the body. It just really helps to keep the body more in a act of being in a great maintenance place. So, and this is where you kind of have to learn for yourself of how many you need and what works for you. I've had people that for short term have used 30 plus at a time to help with getting inflammation out of the body. So, it can definitely be used in high quantity. So you never again have to worry about taking too much. So I want to finish here real quick, and then I said I would open up for testimonials here of just kind of talking a little bit more about why this is so special. This product is actually an original Dr. Shaklee formula. And if you guys remember, Shaklee started in 1956. So that is a long time ago for a company to have history in, and to note that one of the original products is still around today. And Dr. Shaklee, again, was a huge advocate of always sourcing everything from nature, and that's still Shaklee's philosophy today. But what they found to be very particularly interesting with alfalfa is it actually goes into what happens with the roots. The roots grow very deep, like 15 feet plus, and that is where the nutrients are actually absorbed. So the roots are what is actually used to create the product. Now, Shaklee doesn't, use the things that, if you go to the store and you buy alfalfa, a lot of times they use the leaves, which are hardly grown yet. They're too new to have a lot of the nutrients. Where Shaklee, these take about 5 to 7 years before they process to get all those rich nutrients. So it's a very complex process. But when you get those deep trace minerals, it helps with, we mentioned a lot of the, the joints, the allergies, the asthma, but even thinking about an antihistamine. We talked about Benadryl and allergies. That's why this can be helpful, even used for short-term symptoms. Antifungal, using it for helping to create more of a healthy kidney and bladder balance too. When we talk about organs and trying to get body chemistry to be more alkalized, all of the organs play a part, and we want them to be, as neutral as possible. And that's what it does with our pH. And this is kind of interesting. The average fruit or vegetable is somewhere between 1 and 10 as far as on an alkalinity scale. Alfalfa is approximately 130 units alkaline. So when we talk about it being really alkaline, that's what we're talking about here. And, the North American diet in particular is definitely generally way more acidic. So if we can have more of this in our body, like I said, it can only help with prevention of things and helping our bodies to function better here. So I could continue to go on, like I said, guys, on and on. One other thing I wanted to mention, that this also has something which a lot of people have never heard this before, but there is vitamin U in chlorophyll, which is in the alfalfa. And vitamin U is actually excellent for ulcers. So if you know anybody with ulcers, this would be another thing to mention. So again, there's just a lot of properties to alfalfa, but I wanted to just kind of touch on them and share a few here. So if anybody has a testimonial they'd like to share, we have about 4 minutes left here. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, we would love to hear if you have just a real quick, something that alfalfa has helped you with that may benefit someone else. We would love to hear from you a minute here. So anybody want to share here? Don't forget to unmute yourself. Art might be going first. Go ahead, Art.
So for me, it's been my allergies. I've always had gotten hay fever in the past, and then I just start taking like 15 of them, usually in the morning. And it seems to work out great for me during my allergy season, but that's been my biggest success. Now I just take them all the time just because I feel like, I don't know, it helps me. So.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, and he used to get really sick. It seemed like always riverbank run every year.
Every man.
So we know the timing of it. Anybody else something to share with alfalfa? You guys are quiet tonight. Judy, I think you have something.
I do. For quite a few years, I've noticed that I had a age spot on my right temple, and my best friend lives in California, and we always talked about it. And she always has to go. She has them real bad on her face, and she has to go to her dermatologist to get them whatever they do to get them off, laser them off or whatever. And she goes like every 6 months, and it's expensive for her. And she always says, "Oh, you don't have that many." And she always noticed the one on my right temple, and I had one on my left cheek I noticed one over there on my left cheek, left side of my face by my ear. And just by taking, and the only thing I can describe it is that when I start taking the alfalfa, I mean, I know now the one on my right temple is gone. My age spot is gone. And now I notice that the one on my left cheek is almost gone too. So it's like, and I don't do anything to cover them up. And the only thing that has changed in me is that I've done the alfalfa. Well, I give that all the credit right there.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Judy. Hey. All right, good. Anybody else? I think maybe Stacy. I know you guys use alfalfa. Anybody else here?
Yeah, I can go if you want. It's more my husband who has the testimonial. He had really bad allergies. He used to do the shots, and he's a pilot, so he has a lot of strict regulations for what he can take before he's going to fly. And he used to have to try to fit shots into his schedule, which was never convenient. But he started taking Nutriferon and alfalfa and they haven't gone away yet, but he's had his best 2 years since we've started it. He used to not be able to mow the lawn. He'd have to come in, his eyes would be all puffy and red, and he'd be pushing on them and rubbing them and putting ice packs on them just to be able to see for a little while. And now he can go out and mow the lawn and come in and just be like, yeah, it's a little itchy, but not a big deal. So he can still go about his stuff and not have to worry about anything with flying because everything is safe to take. So.
Great. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And that's a big point too, as you were mentioning, the side effects of so many of the things that we use, becoming very drowsy, right? Like as a pilot, you can't be taking things, you're going to fall asleep, obviously, and some of these things that, those side effects are not really necessary. If you can try something like this, that's why it's great to just hear from other people and their testimonials. So anybody else want to share here real fast? And we're almost out of time here. So
we use it for allergies too. And I know my mom's bike club, they use alfalfa for after long rides and such too. So for muscle recovery, Grace uses it for muscle recovery too.
Great. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, that is a big one, guys. If you're very active after, an activity or even before bed, that's why a few of you, I know you're very active and suffer with inflammation type issues. Take more alfalfa. It's amazing. So good. All right, guys. Well, thank you. Well, it is 8:50, so I try to always be on time. So I will move next into our business training for you guys that want to hang out. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.